doing everything out of order. We're going to do the Twitter, then the Discord, which is somewhere around here. Oh man, my icons are all kinds of out of order. Just chaos here. Hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is, I was going to say August, but it's September 24th, and this is the September 24th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on a new dialogue system. So currently I have conversations technically in the game, but they are very, very rough, and people, I'd say about 40 to 50%, well, 40 to 60 percent of people that play the game figure out that you can talk. So you can sort of talk to the troll, for example, here. But they don't they don't really intuit how to actually conversate. So, for example, people try talk, and then they see, oh, it's doing something. So they'll say, like, move. They'll try, what else have they done? They'll be like, talk to troll. They'll say, like, talk to Haas. Stuff like that. And ultimately, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the troll to move, which, spoiler, if you haven't done this, you can say, please move, and the troll will recognize that as, asking it to move. But really what should happen here is there needs to be a more clear way to actually handle... Oh, that's funny. Is its collider that big? That's interesting. Are you not blocking? Oh, right. You don't block raycasts. That's right. I guess that's fine. In any case, so that is. What the, okay, there we go. So that is a serviceable is a very generous term there. It is a functional system, but I think we can make it a little bit more intuitive and actually a little bit more interesting. So, for those who know, this is a compound announcement actually. If anyone, for those who've been watching for any amount of time, you know that recently we redid the wizard cutscene, and we added a talking segment where the king has this like, well, I guess I can show you this. The king has this kind of ASCII art head that talks to you, and it has bits of dialogue to. Oh man, I hate how long it takes to load these things. It has basically bits of dialogue of the king's ASCII head talking at you. What I would like to do is combine that sort of approach with a new menu that lets you actually have somewhat, not necessarily complex, but somewhat more intuitive conversations. So instead of just typing into this, sort of free-for-all input menu that lets you do pretty much anything, instead, what I would like to do. Really? Oh yeah, that's fine. Whatever. So we're gonna let this cutscene play out so that everyone can see what the king's dialogue looks like. Also, whatever. Also, this entire cutscene I think is gonna get scrapped because it's not interesting enough, and I think I have a new way to make this opening far more interesting and engaging to players. So, so we're going to be coding today. All right. So now that's over. This is what I was talking about. We have this sort of typewriter style dialogue where you can't really interact with the king; he just talks at you. But I would like to kind of do a menu like this, where we have an ASCII art head that talks to you, but instead of just talking at you, it actually converses with you. So you'll give it a prompt, and it will say, you know, blah 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 blah. And the way that I'm going to try to play that is basically a mixture of text input and button presses. So instead of purely being text input for conversations, instead you'll get two things. You'll get button prompts for topics that you know about, and you'll also have a generic input that you can type anything you want. In theory, what that would allow is if you know what you need to say already, like if you've dug it up and you have information that you don't necessarily have context for, you can still try that sort of thing. Um, but if you don't have that, if you don't have that sort of deductive reasoning for that particular bit of information, then you'll be able to kind of progress through the game, explore, find new things, and then come back and talk to the person. You'll have actual prompts. Now this is definitely one of those situations where I wish I had a webcam so I can show you my terrible, terrible pencil sketches. Um, but basically, we're going to work on that menu today. So to start, we're going to go ahead and let's go back to splash fade. So this is our main scene when we start the game. I'm going to go ahead and turn on UI. We're going to have a new game object here. We're going to go ahead and set this up. Root. So what's difficult about this is we need to have basically we need to have a menu that goes over the input menu because we want this to be initiated from the input menu. So you'll walk up to something and say talk, and once you say something, once you say a talk verb, you'll basically launch into this new menu that then has these prompts. Um, for the time being, I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to call it like view conversation. I'm not sure if I'm going to make this a modal or if I'm going to make it part of the input menu. For now, I'm going to treat it like its own separate thing. So we're going to go ahead and do pretty much what we usually do here. So say image. We're going to give it the square. I'm sorry, sliced square. All right, we're going to go ahead and make that black with semi-transparent value. I think it's like 200 is the default. I guess the way to know that for sure is it's probably 150, isn't it? Yeah, it's 150. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make that 150. All right. Then we're going to go ahead and, you know what, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and cheat and pull in my, where are you? Here we are. Input menu, input, boom. So I'm going to put this here. So I'm going to call this view conversation. Right. So let's go ahead. Let's see. So the root here is 200. So I'm going to zero these out just so that we can see everything. So this isn't quite going to be the same in the sense that we have this output field. Also, I guess I'm going to go ahead and remove some things here. I'm going to delete that, and I'm just going to make this its own prefab for now. So I don't accidentally override my input. All right. So this bottom part is the consistent part. That's going to be on. That's pretty much on all of our input menus. So we're not really going to have this quite for our output. What would be really nice is if I could somewhat see the background. I'm trying to think about this. Right. I'm going to drag the input view back in here. I'm going to put it like right here. We're going to turn it on. And I'm doing this so that I can kind of see what this looks like when we have overlay. Um, Actually, already I can tell that this input is going to be a problem. Because if I do this, I'm sorry, that's not right. We're going to go to the placeholder. I'm just going to say, type something. That's not too bad, actually. This level of overlay is okay. But I am going to go ahead and populate. I don't remember where we spawn your stuff, actually. A couple of things here. I'll put new. Suggestion prefab. Entered. I should probably change. Where are you? There we are. Output. Oh, nope, I guess not. One of these is the thing. Input grid. There we go. So it goes to content right there. All right. We're going to go ahead and put just a standard text section in here underneath content. We're just going to give it some population so that we can see everything. And real quick, I'm going to cheat and give myself like a bluish background, kind of like this. I just want to make sure that I can see the gradient properly. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and add a text section that's like input. Then we're going to go ahead and have another one. It's just output. Okay, and then we're going to have an empty section. Now we're just going to duplicate this a couple of times. Okay. We're going to move our content. This is going to suck because I don't have a scroll bar. That's interesting. Continue on. I have no clue how to make this work. I guess like that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this a couple more times. Doot. Alright, so we're just going to move this up some more. Like right about there. So we have that overlay. We do not want. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So now we have proper overlay. We're going to change this. So we're going to have a flat fill, I guess. Let's go ahead and add an image. We're going to make this our solid sliced. Make this black. Opacity of 150. Okay, so that's pretty good so far. We're not going to need output new here. So that's nice because that extra layer of opacity seems to make the bottom completely legible. If I think there's a very slight amount maybe that we can't see, or that we can see. But honestly, I don't. It is really hard to tell if it is, so I think we're fine there. So the next thing we want to do is I'm going to find my king profile, king dialog. Let's do that. I guess king dialog is what we want, or no, king profile. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of plop this like right here, and we are going to set our opacity on this to be full opacity. King profile label. Is the I label also? Yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and fade these in. Math label, go ahead and fade that in as well. Okay. So this is our king profile. This is the ASCII art we use for the head. I'm going to real quick position it. Now this isn't what I would normally do. I'm kind of gonna lay everything out roughly before I start doing anchors. So we want the head to be up here. We want a conversation to be here, which is going to be a little weird because it's going to be floating, but I want you to be able to scroll through it, which means a weird pseudo input or output area up here that you can scroll, which is going to be very strange. And difficult to calculate too. That's going to be fun. All right. So, let's see. We have typed something at the bottom here. I'm going to go ahead and create. I am going to make these somewhat more notable. This is going to be our avatar area. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to call this our topic area. Okay. So the topic area is going to be isolated to the top left. So we're going to have its max be like 0.3, 0.35 maybe. Yeah, it's fine. And we're going to go ahead and have its bottom be like 0.5, 0.45. That's pretty good. The avatar area, meanwhile, is going to be 0.35, which makes it 0.65, and 0.5. All right, let's go ahead and move this in here. We're going to zero out its positioning, have it be in the center exactly. So that should be fine. No, we don't have to worry about height on this. I guess we could probably stretch this and it would be fine. The main thing we want to do is make sure that our avatar has plenty of padding so that it doesn't get overlapped with anything in particular. Let's go ahead and move over to here. All right, so I'm going to create UI image. We're going to make it our solid slice. I'm going to go ahead and have this fill up the entire place. We're going to create UI image, solid sliced. Make this one black. Fill up the entire thing. 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. We're going to go ahead and have this. So I'm going to call this background. Background. I can't spell. Background. This is going to be our panel. Yeah, it's fine. All right. So we're going to go ahead and give it a padding of 10. Nope. 20. That's better. 20. That's pretty good overall. Okay. So this is going to be a slightly more difficult thing for us to do. All right. I'm going to go ahead and create UI. Make it a scroll area. Scroll view. I'm going to have that stretch out. Get rid of the horizontal. Oh, actually. No. No, I won't. This is one of those very rare instances where I need to have my scroll bar horizontal exist. Gross. I hate doing that. The reason for that is that topics could be too long potentially. I wonder. No, I think we can get away without it. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Worst comes to worst, that just means I have to remake this particular area again, which is not too bad. I'm gonna turn. Yeah, we don't need you on, so we can get rid of you and get rid of you. Have our port scroll bar vertical bottom. I'm actually going to go ahead and grab display options. Pull that in here because it should have content scroll bar. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and paste that back here. Okay. Turn you on. I'm going to go ahead and assign that as my vertical scroll bar. Okay, we're going to give it a width of 25. Can I? No, you're not going to work like that. 40. That's better. We'll give it a position. Let's delete the scroll bar vertical. We're going to say auto hide. I guess that's okay. We'll give this from the top 5, from the right 5, from the bottom 5. So that's a little better. All right. Then we're going to need to come down to here, and we need this to be pivoted at the top, anchored at the top. All right. So we're going to go ahead and give this a vertical layout group. Then we're going to give it a. This is what we want. Then we're going to give it a content size fitter with unconstrained horizontal and preferred size vertical. All right. Shoot. This actually needs to change a little bit. So this needs to be 50 from the top. Yeah, that's better. I'm going to go ahead and create UI. Pro text. We're going to put this up at the very top. Go ahead and make this another direct transform. I like doing that. I'm going to put you up there. Pivot of 1, 0. Let's go ahead and put you here. We're going to call this title. We're going to move this so that it is centered, and we're going to have this say topics. Let's go ahead and give that like 10, 5, and 5, and I guess 10 from the right, not that it really matters. Title, we'll give it a 50. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and give this title label. We're going to make it our 8-bit font. Topics, that's pretty good. I'm just deciding if I want to have a divide here, and I probably should, so let's go ahead and create UI image. We're going to make this a solid sliced. We're going to have this be along the bottom, the height of 5, pivot of 0, position of 0 as well. From the left, we'll say 10, and from the right, we'll say 10 as well. All right. I feel like we probably want a little bit more breathing room here. We might also make it 5 and 5 so that it lines up with our edges here. Now this scroll bar isn't necessarily always going to be there. It will be hidden occasionally, so we don't always have to worry about it, but we do need to consider it just because if we're not careful, it'll look weird when it pops up. All right. So the next thing we would want to do is, as you explore, you would interact with things in various ways, which may reveal information to you. And once that information is flagged, it will show up in this topics list. So that'll basically present itself as a simple button that you can click on. So we're going to go ahead and say create UI. And actually, in order to make this work properly, I can't make the buttons directly be the parent. They need to be inside an empty game object, basically. So we're going to call this topic button, I guess. We're going to go ahead and trying to think about how I want to handle this. I'm going to make so this is going to be a little bit awkward. I'm going to actually create UI button. So I'm going to have the button be the top level, but it's not going to have a target graphic. All of that's going to be its children. So we're going to create a UI image. We'll make this, for now, I guess it's okay if we make this a solid sliced as well. And we're going to go ahead and have this be our background. We're going to grab this, assign this here. Our normal color is going to be invisible. For now, I'm going to have it be slightly gray so that we can see it. Highlighted color is going to be, it can't be white, it has to be a gray. Pressed color, slightly darker gray. And disabled color is fine like that. We're going to make that 0.2, no automatic. All right, so from here, we can go ahead and create UI text. Oh, what am I doing? Not text. Create UI text pro text. This is going to be our label. Oops. Let's go ahead and center that. We're also going to center our background. Interesting. What's going on here? Ah, it's got a height of 0. Right. So I need to do this. We're going to make a vertical layout group. We're going to make it a content size fitter with a horizontal fit of preferred size. All right. Still got a, oh, right, and I guess a preferred size for the text as well. Same with our button, so that needs to be a vertical layout group with a content size fitter with the same parameters, preferred and preferred. That's not right. Why is your position X wrong? Oh, how curious. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. So, yeah, this is awkward. I no, I was actually approaching this incorrectly. So this does not need to be content sized fitter. Or this. You're not doing anything. Neither does this, actually. But it does need to have an element size, I guess. I'll just do it manually. So we're going to do a layout element right there. We're going to make it a min height of 50. That's probably enough. All right. Button. We're going to have you be stretched right about there. All right. And you are also going to be stretched, centered, and we want it to be left aligned. We're going to go ahead and give it a padding of 25. That makes it pretty legible, so I think we're good. We're going to shrink this down to 30. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and make it our font so we have a better understanding of it. Okay, that's pretty good too. Let's go ahead and jump over to here just to be safe. All right, so funny enough, I think we could probably just move this background up onto this. So let's go ahead and do that. Copy component. We're going to paste component as new. We're just going to go ahead and move this up to the top here, up to here. We're going to move this button down to be below them. And we're just going to move this to here. Get rid of this. Have it be stretched with 25 from the end. Make our button graphic be here. All right. So now we can kind of go ahead and set that to be transparent. Although actually before we do that, let's go ahead and do a couple of things. We're going to make this be called label. I am going to... I suppose I should make something that derives from button. That's... Yeah, might as well. All right. Before I do that, I'm going to name this button topic, something like that. Let's go ahead and duplicate that just so that we have two. I'm going to... I don't really need to have spacing between them, I don't think. But it wouldn't hurt necessarily, so we can give it like 10 spacing. Yeah, that's fine. And let's also go ahead and give this some padding. Do we want to do 10? We'll do 5. Lines up that way. And then from the right, 5 as well. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's do 5 from the top and 5 from the bottom. There we go. So that gives us a fair amount of padding, which I guess means our spacing should probably be 5 as well. So we can delete this, and now I could probably create a script that derives from button. So let's go ahead and go to views, conversation. We're going to create folder prefabs. We're also going to create folder scripts. Don't want to handle it like that. I guess so. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create C# script. And we're going to call this conversation topic button. Oops, button. Yeah, that's good. It's a little long, but it is descriptive. Okay, so let's open that up. Actually, why am I... Well... So ultimately, I don't really need to have a specific topic button because we just need to know the string. So let's go ahead and I don't think I have this yet, but do I have like a Text Mesh Pro button? I don't. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make that real quick. So instead of having a very specific button for this, I'm going to make a generic button that I can use pretty much everywhere that has a Text Mesh Pro label. Oh, it's compiling. I was like, why did it freeze? All right, so let's go up here to scripts. There we go, Text Mesh Pro. Create C# script. I'm just going to call this a Text Mesh Pro button. I'll just call this a label button. Not going to use regular text for these anymore. So let's go ahead and open this up. Alright, so this is going to be in the text quest namespace. We're going to be using TM Pro. We're also going to be using Unity Engine.ui. So this is going to derive from button, and we're going to go ahead and say serialize field, tooltip, say private text mesh pro UGUI label is equal to null. Then we're going to go ahead and say public string text get return label.text set label.text is equal to value. And then we're going to go ahead and say down here override on validate if Unity editor and if this is a very stupid thing that they do, but I have to do that, otherwise it will cause problems on build. We're going to say if label is equal to null, label is equal to get component in children, text mesh pro UGUI. Alright, pretty straightforward. That's all we really need to do. Go ahead and let that compile. I'm going to go up to editor. Scripts. Is that under extensions? And it compiled. Second here, let that finish compiling, and then we'll make a custom editor for this. It's going to be very basic. It's just going to have a field for the label, and then it's going to draw the basic button GUI. So not much impressive there. Yes, cat, I see you. All right, it's done compiling. We're going to come up to here. I'm going to create folder. I was going to say text quest. Text mesh pro. Pretty sure I put that. Alright, I'm going to create. I'm going to make an editor script. So we're going to call this label button editor. Let's go ahead and open this up. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to make it part of the text quest. Namespace, and then we're going to say, I don't have to say using actually, we're just going to make this a label button custom editor. We're going to make this derived from button editor, which actually means I need to come up here and say using Unity editor.ui, button editor. For this, looks like on enable, so we're going to say override on enable, call that, oops, I'm going to say private serialized property m label is equal to null, and then on enable we're going to say m label is equal to serialized object dot find property label is going to be that. If we can go ahead and say can edit multiple objects, honestly I don't think we're going to need that, but sure. Alright, so before we call base on inspector GUI, we're going to go ahead and say serialized object dot update. Then serialized object dot apply modified properties. These are the two methods that you want to call whenever you do custom editor stuff. Update, make sure that your values are correct, and apply modified properties means that if you change anything, they actually get applied and serialized. Then we're going to go ahead and say editor GUI layout dot property field. Can't spell property field apparently. Property field m label. Okay, pretty straightforward. That's all we needed to do there. Let's go ahead and let that compile. I am going to remove you. I guess we'll kind of. Right. So, also I'm glad that this is zoomed in. For a second I thought everything was kind of lopsided. Zoom back out. Let me move. I know you can do it. Come on. There we go. So we have our avatar here. I suppose I could move the avatar over to here to make it a little bit more centered. You know, that could be interesting as a concept. Actually, what are conventions for texting? Pretty sure that texts that you send are on the right. Yeah, they are. Cool. Ah, it sucks though, because that makes it ugly. The universal input symbol is this caret in the game. So if you see that caret, next to a word or a phrase, it means that you typed it. And I don't really want to have that be on the right side. Ah, that sucks. But having it be back and forth like that would be nice. So the main reason that I'm kind of mad about that is we have justification, but justified aligns it to the left and not to the right. But, you know, that's not too bad, I guess. So we could probably get away with that. All right. Make that be centered. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. We want that to be left. All right, so I'm going to remove this. We're going to just go ahead and slap on our label button. All right, you can see that we have our label automatically assigned. We're going to go ahead and say 0.2, not 0.22, just, there. None. I'm going to make you be transparent, pretty much. Highlighted color is just going to be, not all white, it's going to be gray. Also, I'm actually going to make you solid black. Then pressed color is going to be slightly darker gray. Disabled color, yeah, it's all good. All right, so that's what our topics button will look like. Let's go ahead and make that into a prefab so I can remember where my prefabs are. Close all of these fun things. Prefabs. Here we are. So I'm going to make this into a prefab. I'm just going to crop you right there. Huh. You know what I just realized is that interesting. There we go. That's super weird. Let's go ahead and apply that. I'm going to give it a height of 50 and like a width of like 300 something. Alright, so we'll give it like a... Let's do 350. Okay. So that is our button. Pretty straightforward. Don't really need to do much there. So this is essentially what our topics would look like. You would be able to come up here and click on a topic, and that would automatically send it up to the king for dialogue purposes. So you know, I'm actually curious. Does Android use the same conventions as iOS? I would assume so. But I've never actually, I've not actually used an Android phone before. I'm kind of always had an iOS device. Let's go ahead, just to double check. I'm going to look up a couple of my other chat type apps. For the most part, yeah, it looks like it's okay. So the stuff you send is on the right. That's a little rough. All right, so this is our label area, or our topics area. It's very straightforward. There's not really much we have to do there. I am going to make this be mostly transparent, like 15, I think is all we really need. Pretty good. Let's go ahead and also change a couple of things. We're going to make this clamped. We're not going to make it scroll horizontal. Movement type, clamped inertia, scroll sensitivity, we'll give it like 10. Should be enough. All right. Let's go ahead and save real quick. So that's pretty much all we need to do for the topics area. The next thing I want to do is figure out how to handle messages that you send. Because this is where things get awkward. Because again, I want you to be able to scroll through your outputs. Oh boy, this is just so awkward. All right, we're gonna go ahead and turn on output new. And you can see that we have this gradient that's already here. And I want I want to make this fit within that area, so I can do 200. Do I want to do 300? Probably not. Um, okay. Bu- 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 we. mm, okay. So I'm going to do this. We're going to go ahead and sneeze. Excuse me. All right. So I'm going to have this be aligned on the bottom. We're going to give it a position of 100. Sorry, I'm sniffling a little bit. Um, we're going to give it a height of 300. I'm going to make this be a gradient like this. Um, that is going to need to be simple. Oh boy. No, that's not going to work. Really? Well, screw you too, I guess. So we're going to make that solid sliced. It, for some reason, refused to undo source image there. Weird. All right. So topic area. Oh man, you know what I bet was happening that entire time was it was undoing all of my work here. I bet anyway. Let's find out. View. Viewport. No, looks fine. All right. Weird. Whatever. Um. So we probably. Hmm, take a look at this real quick. Probably I'm just going to end up making a new scroll bar or scroll area. Okay. So I'm going to delete this. Yeah, you're fine. I'm going to go ahead and create a new section here. I'm going to call this position of 100. We're going to call this the conversation area. Okay. I'm going to give it a height of 300. Too much. 200. Yeah, I suppose that's about right. All right. So we're going to go ahead and create UI. Scroll view. Pretty much the same thing that we did before. So we're going to stretch that out. I am going to remove the horizontal scroll bar. I am going to also copy my scroll area or scroll bar down here again. Paste that here. Say 111 with a position of -5 and a top value of 5 and a bottom value of 5. That's looking pretty good. We're going to get rid of you. Come back to here. We're going to say vertical scroll bar there. And a content size. So if I were to move this, nice, we would already see this. And probably I should make that work a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and say we're going to add a layout vertical layout group. We're going to add a layout content size fitter vertical fit preferred size for that. padding, as always, should be like 5 and 5 and 5 and 5. Okay, so for this, it's going to be a little different. We want. Okay, so yeah, that's. I think it's like output. No, it's section. Is what I'm looking for. Section. That's good enough. That'll get me to where I need to go. So text section is what our content is. If I were to type this, you can see a test shows up. All right. So a couple of things. One, this does not need to. Oh my goodness, this is gonna kill me. This doesn't need to be here. We're gonna remove you. This can be largely transparent. 15 again. 10 is, I guess, the limit that we need. All right. So from here, if we go to our scroll bar and we scroll all the way up, oh, you're not actually going to do anything because you're fine. Let's go to, just duplicate this a couple of times. I want to make sure that when we're scrolled up to the top, that's obviously not going to help me any. Let's make this test 1. 7. Oh? Are you kidding me? How interesting. Sorry. Very interesting. Because you should work. How odd. All right then. Let's go ahead. Viewport. Interesting. Why would you? I feel like something's going wrong there, but it is their own code. So at the same time, I don't know. That's very odd. Also quite vexing that it's forked now. I'm gonna make this clamped. There we go. That's probably what was going wrong. And of course it's not scrolling because of this stupid thing, I bet. So let's clear you. Scroll bar. Cool. Don't know what's going on there, but hey. Let's see. Vertical scroll bar is scroll bar. Let's go ahead and just like turn this all off and turn it on. See if that fixed the problem. It did. It still does that, which is very frustrating. Whatever. So it is going the right direction, which is all we care about. Okay. So we're probably going to want to have very specific prefabs for this. We're not going to want to use the generic text section. So man, so we could do something like this, where we have like caret input, and then the next thing is output of some kind. And then we have an empty section, which I guess probably needs to be like here. Something like that. But one, you can see that it's actually kind of hard to read with the input menu in the background like that. Which I guess means that I should actually come up to here and bump this up to 200. That helps, but not by a lot. Let's do 225. Still a little bit much. Maybe I'm going about this the wrong way. Maybe I should instead come up to. What if I were to instead add a canvas group to this? And we make this alpha like 0.5. Sort of like this. Alpha 0.1. Because then you can kind of still see everything if you really, really want to. Then again, maybe it would just be better if I made this entire thing solid like that. The only reason that I don't want to do that is just because I don't know how I'm going to open this menu. I don't want it to just pop into existence. I would like it to smoothly transition from somewhere. But it needs to happen quickly. So I'm going to leave that as that for now. I'm going to collapse the topic area. I'm going to add a new button down here. We're going to make this be conversation area right here, I guess. We're going to have this be at the top right. 1 and 1, 0 and 0. Let's go ahead and minimize this. We're going to say buttons is the thing here. Let's go ahead and say create UI, text mesh pro text. I did that backwards. We're going to create UI button. We're going to get rid of the text. We're going to drag this in here. We're going to make this be a label. We're going to have it be stretched with 10, 10, 10, and 10. We're going to have our button take up this entire area, I guess. This is going to say back. It's going to be our appropriate font. We're going to have our button, make it like, what, 150? It's probably fine. We're going to have this be stretched to fill the center. And we're going to call this button dash back. And let's go ahead and say no, 0.2. I am going to do the same thing I always do here, so we're going to make it black with no alpha. Highlighted color is going to be this kind of gray. Pressed color is going to be here. You're all fine. And then our label is just going to say back. That's all fine. So to give it a sense of what it looks like on alpha, I'm not a fan of that. I would like this to be our solid sliced. I don't really like it being that close to the edge. Let's go ahead and say minus 10. Minus 10 with a height of 60. That's pretty good. All right. We're gonna leave that square there for now so I can see where everything is. And then I'm gonna move the conversation area. I'm sorry, not the conversation area, the avatar area. We're gonna move it over to like 0.45. And then 0.75. We're getting real cluttered in here. Okay, I'm trying to think. Hmm. Well, it is a little bit more centered. I want it to kind of, I want the head to kind of have enough space to breathe. So we're probably going to need to move this over to 8.5. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Um, and hmm, let's see here. 0.85. Yeah, it's centered enough. Um, this is too cluttered. No. Let's get back to the conversation area real quick. Um, so, on top of all of this content, I'm going to need to have an image. And this is also going to need a layout group. Or not a layout group, but a layout element. It's going to ignore layout. That way I can do this. Oops. We're going to go ahead and give it a gradient. Gradient up. It's going to be simple. Um, and Mm, man. Yeah, it's not exactly ideal. Is my content? Oh, right. This is scaling in the opposite direction that we need to go. I'm rather foolish here. So we need this to be pivoted from 0. There we are. And excuse me. This background is actually going to go on the viewport. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to set it up to be black. I think that will work pretty well. And actually, we want it to be a gradient down, now that I think about it. Simple for our scaling. So basically, we want the conversations up top to be faded out and the conversations at the bottom to be more clear. So for this setup, let's go ahead and go to our scroll bar. Okay. We are going to want to have conversation height of 225. Is that going to be good? That's pretty standard. It's pretty decent. I think we're gonna go for a 250. And this is gonna be tricky because we actually want our topic to render over this. So that means we need to move this to here and the topic area down to here. Okay. Actually, I think avatars are also going to draw behind topics. I don't think there will be a situation where they'll ever get over to here, but just in case. All right, so that lets me fade this out a little bit better. So if I wanted to scroll this out, you can see that they kind of fade out right at the border of here, which is nice. All right. So how this is going to work is this label is going to be aligned to the right. And I'm going to go ahead and delete these. I'm just going to duplicate these. Doot. All right. And that's pretty much all we want to do. So we're going to delete you. We're going to come over here to our scroll bar. We are going to need to give myself padding from the top on the order of like 100. Yeah, about about 100. Oof, that's pretty bad. Um, yeah, that's too much. Frack. Okay. Idea. We're gonna change this up a little bit. So we're gonna give this from the top like 25, something a little bit more sensible. We're gonna change this. I'm gonna get rid of. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna change this. So instead of having this be stretched to fill, we're gonna have this and have it be stretched across with a position of 0. Yes, and a height of 100. There we go. So now we're going to bump this down to give this a height of 225. It's a lot better. We're going to go down to scroll bar. We're going to scroll so all the way up at the top. Hold on. We're going to turn these all off. We're going to give ourselves, what do you think, 25 from the bottom? Right about there. That's pretty good. 25 from the left and 25 from the right, I guess. Interesting. Is the width not being forced? There we go. Hold on. So height. I think we want that to be correct. No, we want this to be the setup. I think. Just to be safe. Example of some kind. New line. Okay, good. Line. So that is necessary there. And we don't want these all to be true. I think this is going to be child control size width. One of these makes it go away. Well, perhaps not. Whatever, that's fine. So the main thing there is I just wanted to make sure that my new lines would properly size the labels here. So we have our input prompt on the right, and then our outputs on the left. Our scroll bar over here is not functioning again. There we go. Okay. So I think this is all we need. Gradient. I'm just a little concerned because I'm afraid that this is going to fade out too quickly. Let me go ahead and like add a couple of new lines. Right about there. So I got about 4 lines before it makes the input go away. 3 before it's starting to get a little grayed out. But that's not too bad. All right. So from here, we are going to have some changes. So text section is, I suppose we could go ahead and have these be the same thing. It's just that instead of Yeah. Yeah, all right. So these can be text sections. They'll just be um, a special version of the prefab. So that means I'm going to go ahead and rename this text. Call this conversation section. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and this is aligned to the right. All right. So I'm going to make this its own prefab. We'll give it a height of, what is it, like 50-ish? 42. Yeah, we'll make it a height of 50. With 1200, sure, why not? 0. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. Having it expand like that is fine. Okay. I think that's a decent enough area for our inputs. Um, so now we can actually start on the script for this. I think that's all I needed. Let me review my sketches. Yeah, seems right. All right. So we're going to go to one other thing real quick. I'm going to call this buttons. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this component. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to paste component values here. And I'm just going to get rid of that. We're going to go ahead and set this to be black with no alpha. I'm also going to set the label here to be something like this. And we're going to make our size 200. Yeah, that's okay. Let's go ahead and change our size here. So 5, 5, 5, and 5. Yeah, that's okay. Keep black here. I'm a little concerned those brackets are not very clear. I wonder. Oof. Maybe I can do this. I think it's like sprite equals. Yep. Okay. Let's just keep going until we run out. There we go. Something like that. That actually is pretty funny. Except that implies the keystroke B. I was basically trying to let people know how to type back. I do like that. That is pretty funny. But it probably should be something like this. Because I want you to be able to click on this button and also type B to go back. Yeah, okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and just get rid of you. We don't need you there. So that's functional. I guess. It really is not great though. It looks a little hideous. I suppose I could. I was gonna go ahead and give this 10 so I can see this while I'm working on it. So I could do that, or I could do that, which is obviously gross. Return. I wonder if there's a fun word for stop talking. Um, Back is obviously the universal one for now, so I guess we'll leave it at that. I'm just going to have it be implied, and if people are smart enough to figure out that you can type B, that's fine. I'm going to give this a 150. Or completely transparent black. All right. Let's go ahead and we're going to delete this. Okay, so we have our content set up, and our gradient set up, and our topics are set up. So let's go ahead and do this. I am also going to add a canvas group to this. And interactable blocks recast, that's all good. Okay. So for this, we are going to go ahead and come down. We're going to say select. I'm going to, for the moment, hit apply so that we can properly work on this. I'm going to hit save here, and then we're going to go down to my scripts. So I'm going to go ahead and say, here, say create C# script. I'm going to call this conversation view. Okay. Why I did not double click on this to open it up, I do not know. Right, so this is going to be in the text quest namespace. It's going to derive from TQ game, not game manager. Text quest game view. Text quest view. There we go. Okay. Alright. So, what we want to do here is we're going to need to set up a couple of things. We're going to say using Unity engine.ui, using TM Pro. Oh shoot, I don't have a name. I probably should have a name here somewhere. Hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Think. Uh, I don't know where I would put it. Convention would be somewhere in the top, but that is a little crowded currently. And if it's not direct center, like somewhere around here, then it's gonna look hideous. Let's try that, I guess, real quick. So up in the avatar area, we'll go ahead and create UI text mesh pro text. I'll put this up at the top. That'll be anchored here. Pivot 1, 0. Let's go ahead and have that be centered and centered. 8-bit font. Ugh. A little bit better. I'm not crazy about that. Okay. Yeah, I'm really not crazy about that. All right, so we're gonna cheat this. We're gonna have 10 from the top. We are going to make this. Make a new empty transform. We're gonna go ahead and set this up to be the title. I'm gonna call this name, I guess. And then name label. We're gonna go ahead and have this be down here. We're gonna change this so that it stretches all the way. Pivot 5, 0, and 0. We're going to give this a height of 50. That's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and create a new game object. We're not calling this that. From the top, it's going to be 50. So this is going to be ASCII parent. We're just going to move this down to here. Yeah, you're all fine. Boom. Okay, that's pretty good so far. So as long as my heads are all generally of this size, which should be the case, I think this will be fine. As a test case, I'm going to go ahead and select this. King Mighty Ear. So King. Yeah, I think that will work. Okay. Oh boy. Yeah, this is gonna get. Man, I have like 1,000 different ideas firing off about how to make this interesting. So conversation, I think, is going to be largely all about information gathering. Um, so as you discuss things, as you conversate, you will unlock new topics potentially, not necessarily always. Um, and from there, you'll get things like you might learn someone's true name. So, for example, the first time you interact with the king, he might be just called King, but then after you talk with him a little bit, he'll say like, I am King Mightinger. At which point, you see the label kind of do this, and then come back as King Mightinger, like that. So it fills out a little bit more. Uh, and then, yeah, that actually is pretty nice. Okay, yeah. Cool. Um, oh man, yeah, this is becoming far more interesting the more we work on it. Okay. That said, I think, oof, I think we've done a decent job. I'm gonna give myself a little bit more padding. Not in the king's area, or the not the avatar area, but instead in. Should I make this underlined? Maybe. I'd like to see that in action to know what it looks like actually. Um, okay. Yeah, an underscore is actually not too bad. Um, so we have information on who you're talking to now. The topics I'm going to. Ah, man, this is the problem when I start doing complicated interface. The font that I've chosen is fairly large, and it just starts to feel cramped after a while. Um, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pop over to the topic area again. I'm gonna give my scroll view or not a scroll view. I'm sorry. We're gonna give the scroll bar a position of -10, and then 10 and 10. That just makes the padding a lot more noticeable, which gives me much more breathing room. Okay, that's pretty good. We can shrink this down probably to 30. Yeah, that's a lot better. I'm not crazy about having this white space here. I guess I could center this. Yeah, that's better. Um, yeah, that makes sense. So we'll just have that be topics. Also, I think the idea is going to be that when you start talking, it's just going to fade this in like this. And then when you're done, it'll fade back out. And when you want it back, it'll fade back in, and then back out, and then back in, and back out. Stuff like that. Yeah, it seems all right for now. So let's go ahead and assign my conversation view script here. We are going to have our root and the output label, placeholder label. That's all. No, 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 no. Okay. So I got to make this view from scratch because we don't have an output label, and we don't have a need for a placeholder label. So, all right. So yeah, we're gonna create that from scratch then. So this is just gonna be a game view, which means that we're gonna need to come up to here and say using sleepyval.common. We're gonna make this a game view. We're not gonna override submit. I think we're just gonna have public void submit. We'll say private. Okay. So let's go ahead and make our variables that we need. We're going to need a serialized field, tooltip, private private button, back button, null. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We're going to need it. Then we're going to have private TMP input field. Input is going to be null. We need that. We're going to need a scroll rect. Well, we're going to need a rect transform. Output parent is equal to null. We're going to need a topics parent. Rect transform. Topics parent is equal to null. What else do we need? We're going to need the prefab for the button. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here and say header prefabs. We're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to say label button topic button prefab is equal to null. We are going to need a scriptable object class of some sort for conversation data. That's basically just going to be information about what you can do for this conversation. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see, what else do we need? I want to say section prefab. Let me think. I think we will want to do this. We'll say text section, which I think is my base class. Let me double check though. I guess we'll make it the output section. We'll have this be input section is equal to null. Then go ahead and paste that and say output section empty section is equal to null. And I don't think I've forgotten anything, have I? Oh, we need the label for the name and the rect transform for the parent of the ASCII art, as well as references to my scroll areas. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and come down here, say rect transform. Avatar, is that what I want to call it? Avatar parent is equal to null. And then we're going to need here text mesh pro UGUI avatar name label is equal to null. All right, I think those are all of our major major prefabs that we need. So we have our output section. Topics parents. This is going to be rect transform to parent output sections 2. We're going to say rect transform to parent topic buttons 2. Rect transform to parent avatar ASCII art 2. Button clicked to close the menu. Label showing the current avatar's name. Input field for the player to type topics into. Okay. Prefab for discovered topics. I should also call these prefabs. Prefab. It's going to be output section to output section used for player input. Output section used for spacing. Output grid. Okay. I don't think we need anything else really. I suppose real quick we can do some preliminary things. So we're going to say private void on back clicked. Private void start. Back button dot on click dot add listener on back clicked. We're gonna need some. It's about as far as we can get right now, actually. There are some things I could do for the submission, but for now, I'm going to let that compile because we're going to need to add a scriptable object for our conversation data. And oh boy, we're gonna end up making a similar class to our avatar script. So, oof, this is gonna be tough. Let that compile. I guess while that's happening, I'm gonna take a drink. I'm gonna take a drink. Oops, didn't mean to unmute that. All right. So we have our prefabs. We can go ahead and assign all of our things that we need. So this is going to be our topic parent. So I'm going to go ahead and say content dash topics, just so that we can have a little bit of an easier. I forgot the scroll views. Scroll view topics. Conversation, viewport, content, conversation. We're going to go ahead and pop back in real quick. And we need, so we have rect transforms, buttons. I'm going to go ahead and say, do I already have it? Oh, good, nice. We're going to say private rect, I'm sorry, scroll rect, scroll view, scroll rect. Blah! I've hated forever how they call it scroll view in the creation menu, but it's a scroll rect. And they used to call it scroll rect in the creation menu. I have no idea why they changed it to scroll view. It's aggravating though. It always trips me up now. So this is going to be our conversation scroll rect bleh, is equal to null. And here we're going to say scroll rect topics scroll rect to null scroll rect showing topic buttons scroll rect showing conversation history. Okay. In addition to that, we're also going to need to come up here and say using system.collections because I'm going to need to make some enumerators. So we're going to need to say private enumerator. I'm going to call this conversation scroll delay is not equal to. We got a yield for one frame, yield return null, and then we're just going to say conversation scroll, not scroll delay. Conversation scroll rect dot normalize vertical normalized position is equal to, I think 1f is what we want. No, we want it to be 0. Okay. I also think we're actually going to want to reverse our scroll direction on the conversation one because it needs to go from the bottom to the top. Well, no, it should be fine. Okay, so I'm going to call this one topics scroll delay, and this is going to be our topic scroll rect. Topics scroll rect. Topic scroll rect. I'm going to rename that to topic scroll rect instead of topics scroll rect. That's very odd. Okay, pretty straightforward there. We want that one to be 1f because we want it to always be at the top. All right, and for that, let's go ahead and let that all compile. I can come down here. So King dialog, this is what I was talking about. You can see that we have our dialog text and our preamble text. That we don't really need. This is the thing that we need more. The avatar data, I guess is what I'm going to call this, or conversation avatar will probably be what I rename this to. You know, do I? I'm trying to think through some scenarios here. We might end up expanding on that quite a bit. So the main thing here is that, well, oh man, we're gonna have to figure out how to do animations. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yep. So this is kind of what we were talking about. It's gonna get complicated real fast. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and assign some more of these things. We're gonna go ahead and come down to topics parent, topic parent. That's fine. So our output parent is going to be down here. We're going to go ahead and assign our topics. Scroll rect. Content. Topics. Yep, that's all right. Let's go ahead and don't have to worry about that. We're going to say content conversation. Our scroll view conversation is going to go there. Our avatar parent is going to go here. Back button is going to go here, avatar name label is there, and input is here. All right. So for this conversation, it's going to be all that's assigned. And I'm actually going to end the stream here tonight. This is definitely one of those nights that I could easily go on for quite a while. But I'm going to need to experiment a little bit and give this a test run. I do think that I have something interesting here. So I'm going to mess around with this for a bit and see what I can get done tonight. Because I'm getting very excited about this idea. It's going to be super interesting to be able to interact with a bunch of stuff and unlock topics. Okay. Yeah. All right. So announcements. Nothing really going on. So we should be on schedule for this Thursday, doing our regular Devstream time at 7 p.m. And that is pretty much it. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.